Hello, my name is Lena, and I'm phoning on behalf of your local newspaper. I won't keep you long because I know you're busy. Maybe you're doing housework, or maybe you have guests over, so I'll make this as brief as possible. Have you ever thought of subscribing to your local newspaper? Well, if not, then maybe you should think about it. Before you say anything, just let me tell you that if you subscribe to the newspaper right now, you will receive 4 weeks delivery of the weekend paper absolutely free of charge. That's right, 4 weeks home delivery, and you pay absolutely no money. You might say, I don't believe it, there must be some kind of catch. But I can assure you there is no catch and there is no gimmick. You will receive absolutely free of charge the weekend paper delivered straight to your door for the next 4 weeks. But wait, I know what you're thinking. Why should I read the paper when I can simply watch the news on TV? But the weekend newspaper is more than just news. It's the weekend business report. And sports, all the scores you need to know. And the weekend fashion file, an in-depth analysis of world events. Plus you get the weekly TV listings and the full-color weekend funnies. And that's not all. As a new subscriber, you will also receive this added special bonus, a free gift pack of valuable money-saving coupons redeemable at participating local retailers. So tell me, to what name and address should I make out this subscription?
I will parade you down the high street. You've got the attraction, you've got the pulling power. Walk my little doggy, walk my little sex dwarf. We can make a scene, we'll be a team, making the headline sound like a dream. When we hit the floor, you just watch them move aside. We will take them for a ride, alright. They all love your miniature ways. You know what they say about small boys. Looking so huge, it's big and it's gold. With my dumb chauffeur looking to procure. Run little doggy, lure a disco dolly. Run my little sex dwarf, I feel so lonely. Get my little camera, take a pretty picture. Sex dwarf in a gold rolls, making it with the dumb chauffeur. Isn't it nice? Sugar and spice, luring disco dollies to a life of ice. Sex dwarf, isn't it nice? Luring disco dollies to a life of ice. so good, we'll knock 'em cold, knocking 'em cold in black and gold. We can have playtime in my little playroom, disco dollies, my sex dwarf and my dumb chauffeur. I would like you on a long black lead. You can bring me all the things I need. Sex dwarf, isn't it nice? Luring disco dollies to a life of vice. Sex dwarf, isn't it nice? Luring disco dollies to a life of vice.
Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. My name is Alan, and I'm currently standing in a large American parking garage. This garage was built in 1986 and contains over 10,000 tons of poured concrete.
Weekdays are by far the busiest and most profitable times for this garage, often seeing a net profit of $100,000 an hour. This is my bedroom, and I can be found here sleeping most times, unless I'm sick like I am right now. In those rare cases, I can be found over here. This is where I like to go when I'm not feeling so well. This area of the garage is perfectly equipped for dealing with me when I'm sick. It has this and this, and both of those things come in extremely handy when dealing with a medical situation.
However, if you are watching this video, it is because these facilities are not capable of dealing with my specific illness or medical emergency, and I require attention outside of the garage. If you can help me, or have the ability to take me to a proper hospital, please pick me up now.
My first girlfriend actually wrote this, and she was a sweetheart. And I love seeing that when I walk past it in the hall, and that's always there. Hungry? I am, and so are the hundreds of men and women employed by this facility. They work long hours and enjoy stabilized payments and benefits. If you would like more information, please go here. This is one of my favorite spots in the entire building, and it's easy to see why. The conglomerate that owns this complex is good, and they own several buildings just like it all over the world. If you happen to live near this particular facility, I would like you to know that I'm currently not feeling well and would appreciate any help you can offer. I'm looking for real tangible help and nothing else. This is one of the symptoms that I've been having, and I've been trying to find a way to get this whole thing to move forward. But these just hang out up here all the time, and I don't. Whew, it's one of these problems that you wish you didn't have, but when you have it, you just gotta deal with it. Now, if you come over this way, I'd like to show you the window. This is one of the areas of the building that just made me fall in love, and I once I saw this, I was just taken with the entire facility, and I've been here ever since. Now, I have coughing fits, and I'll be seen coughing for weeks, and I just hate it. It's one of the worst parts of the job, but you gotta move on. I just love to cough. I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your day to watch this video, and I'd also like to thank the owners and employees who work at this fine garage. Their hard work and support have allowed me to maintain an extremely livable lifestyle for many, many years. And although I am currently experiencing an extreme medical condition, I in no way hold that against the proprietors of this establishment. I'm still hoping for your support, and I can't wait for you to help me. I'll be seeing you soon.
She wore blue velvet, bluer than velvet was the night, softer than satin was the light from the stars. She wore blue velvet, bluer than velvet were her eyes, warmer than May her tender sighs. Love was ours, love I held tightly, feeling the rapture grow, like a flame burning brightly. But when she left, gone was the glow of blue velvet. But in my heart there'll always be precious and warm a memory through the years, and I still can see blue velvet through my tears. She wore blue velvet, but in my heart there'll always be
Make a hole with a gun perpendicular to the name of this town in a desktop globe. Exit wound in a foreign nation, showing the home of the one this was written for. My apartment looks upside down from there. Water spirals the wrong way out the sink, and her voice is a backwards record. It's like a whirlpool and it never ends. And I are getting old and we still haven't walked in the glow of each other's majestic presence. Listen in and hear my words. They're the ones you would think I would say if there was a me for you. All alone at the 64 World's Fair, 80 dolls yelling small girl after all. Who was at the DuPont Pavilion? Why was the bench still warm? Who had been there? Or the time when the storm tangled up the wire to the horn on the pole at the bus depot. And in back of the edge of hearing, these are the words that the voice was repeating. In the glow of each other's majestic presence. Listen and hear my words. They're the ones you would think I would say if there was a me for you. When I was driving once, I saw this printed on a bridge.
I don't want the world. I just want your house.
They don't need me here, and I know you're there, where the world goes by like the humid air, and it sticks like a broken record. Everything sticks like a broken record.
Where's Taylor? Is he here?
I was playing every week. I was playing with the audio, and I wasn't paying attention to the video.
It's okay.
What's going on?
I have too much fun selecting my archival clips.
I love them.
I was gonna apologize that this week's were like a little gay, a little heavy on the gay. Usually I like to slip like a subtle touch of gay, but I kind of was heavy-handed with the LGBTQ.
What was the cartoon? The one that looked like Rocco's Modern Life?
It was Cartoon Sushi. I like took a bunch of like Liquid Television, but the clips are too long and I like haven't cut them. So the shortest one I had was a Cartoon Sushi one. Cartoon Sushi was like a entree for a lot of now famous animators and animations, like Powerpuff Girls premiered on Cartoon Sushi. Courage the Cowardly Dog.
No way. Courage is the best.
Yeah.
That's probably like if I had, I don't know, I was a SpongeBob kid. Courage the Cowardly Dog is like masterwork.
Yeah. No, that was really spooky. I mean, maybe I'll do instead of a closing song, I'll do a closing animation going forward.
Just do an episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog every single week. We get copyright striked everywhere. What was the dude with the mask?
The guy with the mask? Oh, in the parking garage?
Yeah.
Oh, that was because the theme tonight is liminal spaces. That was my favorite liminal space video. It's a skit from this guy, Alan Resnick. He did this house, I think it's called This House Has People in It. That was on Adult Swim. And I love, the first time I watched it, I laughed so much. The visitor information is what it's called. And I thought, I just loved it. I just loved how weird it was. My husband like hates that I always try to play it.
I love all of those old Adult Swim. I haven't watched Adult Swim in years, I guess because I don't have cable anymore. But I used to love how strange it was. Like quoting the Mighty Boosh was like the thing I did with my friends in high school. I mean, that show was just the best.
I miss when there was like, maybe it was like a fantasy, but like a fantasy of like alt TV, like MTV, Adult Swim, Nickelodeon sometimes was like this. This was like very small window of time.
Adult Swim was odd. It was a particular oddness. It was the bizarre humor. It was the Sam Hyde thing. It was, it was all those early dudes were just so bizarre.
Yeah. And now it's like too common, right? It's so easily it's so easily accessible. It's like you almost can't find it. If that makes any
You know what's
sense.
weird though? It's one of those things that like, and this came up when we did the Art Bell thing. It's something exists and then it creates this whole new genre. And it's just
Yeah.
bizarre to see that because it is like super common now. And it with the liminal spaces and then also just like the bizarre humor. That's like most of my Instagram feed is just like the strangest things you've ever seen that are like vaguely funny but kind of scary. And they're just
Yeah. Well, it's like, I say this all the time, like, it used to be, like, hard to find anime. I feel like I say that every single week at this point, but it made it special. Like,
I
it used to be hard to find, like, this kinda, like, indie animation or indie comic books, like, you'd have to, like, go somewhere or wait up or it's, I mean, to go back to the Coast to Coast AM thing we did, like, it felt so special because even though there was, like, what, like 10 million listeners, 6 million listeners, however many millions of listeners a night, you had to like there was a barrier to entry to listen to it. You had to stay
yeah,
up.
it's 20 million. We got to give him his respect. Peak was
Oh,
20.
jeez, 20 million. My
Peak was
bad.
20. It was like 1999, which is just
Um,
shocking.
yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, it's shocking. You think about our audience, which is like, pretty big for live stream actually, but like in the scale of things, it's not that big. The peak show, let's say Tim Pool, what 150 with Candace Owens, she's peaking. She's like 500,000 live. 20 million people doing the same thing at the same time. It's like the Super Bowl.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I think about that all the time. It's just like how large Stern, Limbaugh, Art Bell were. I mean, it's just in a different league.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it feels like media used to be weirder. I remember having this thought, and I think I've also like told this story before. I went to like a puppet museum a number of years ago, and like I was, like, looking at all these exhibits of, like, these are things that are on, like, public access, and they're really strange, or, like, PBS even.
Have
It's
you, speaking of public
such a
access, I miss public access, like the weird shows you come across in like the middle of the night. But have you seen that it's kind of gone viral in kind of conspiracy spaces? The public access guy who ended up, he was, some local public access guy. I think it was like upstate New York. He busts all these different local politicians for fraud. He ends up getting harassed by all these different police officers, and one of the police officers kills him. Police officer gets sent to prison. This guy's like
okay.
a proto Alex Jones. Guy gets sent to prison. That guy ends up being Jeffrey Epstein's cellmate, and he gets moved out of the cell right before Jeffrey Epstein supposedly kills himself. He did not, but that guy was the contact for House and Habit. All of her reporting on Epstein was this dude who was in prison for killing a conspiracist on public access television.
That's crazy.
Isn't that the strangest story?
Also, like, why would you like, I never understand, like, why would you wanna silence someone who doesn't really have an audience?
I think it was an anger thing. He had uncovered it. He had got people sent to prison. He had uncovered a bunch of police officers on the force, busted them for fraud or stealing, drug dealing. He had sent some people to prison within this guy's orbit. I think they had gone to beat him up several times, and the guy was just relentless. And the last time it just got out of hand, and he killed the guy on accident, or I mean, I guess technically on purpose because he was there to beat him up. But
Wow.
yeah, yeah, and then a totally bizarre story. I wish I could remember the guy's name. It's hard to find his videos. I was gonna make a YouTube video about him, but I could only find like 13 minutes of stuff. It had all been like yanked down. But this dude, he's not like Alex, where he's kind of ranting. He's like an old school. He would just go in this public access 30 minutes and go through his notes about how every single person in the government was like ripping people off. Just old school people that used to, I admire. That's something else you don't see much anymore, is that people who are interested in a thing that have no path to monetization and they dedicate their life to it. You don't see
Well, I
that
think
anymore. Or at least,
yeah, you don't see it.
Yeah,
It exists. You don't
it
see it.
exists. You don't see it, but I liked being able to see it. I liked like there was a spot for weirdos to like have an audience to do things
My
like that.
my sister told me she was listening to a podcast where they said that, like, the internet used to be sort of like a corral for weirdos, now everyone's on the internet,
And
and
we're all weirdos
so
now.
it well, not that we're all weirdos, it's just, like, it's difficult to it's turned into, like, a needle in a haystack.
It
Although I
is.
think
Yeah.
maybe a little bit it's both is true because like, it does feel like people are, in some sense, weirder
They
or
feel
more debauched somehow.
maybe it's the distance from my life, but they feel scarier.
Some people, yeah.
I get some
Al
weird messages. You get some I've
although
seen your messages. Your messages are nuts.
oh, yeah, I mean, I have, like, full-blown people have, like, fixations on me. I wanna be careful with how like, the word choices I use. I'm always, like, surprised. I mean, there's a handful of I would say maybe, like, even half a dozen of people who have, like, dedicated fixations on me, and, like, 1 or 2 are, genuinely, like, I believe schizophrenic. Like, I'm not just using that word. Like, I think that's, like, diagnosably schizophrenic or on that spectrum. But some of them are like, there's like a couple of working journalists who are like really fixated on me. And it's like, one of the criticisms I get from my Twitter haters is that I'm boring. And I kind of agree with that in a way. It's like, what is like, how are you wasting time? There's so many wonderful people to talk shit about. Like, I feel like a weird target for the number of like people of these sort of like dedicated um like obsessions with me. It's like, why?
You're not boring. You occupy a kind of interesting. You're kind of iconic within a space. Not to like flatter you too much, but there's something about you. Like your presence is connected to the thing that you cover, and it feels. I don't know. I could see how somebody could get obsessed. It's kind of
I don't know. The thing is, like, there's not a lot of like juice there, right? Like, I'm not particularly charismatic. I don't. There's no like gossip. There's no secret, connection or skeleton or affair or like.
I know, but you
There's,
but like they
so
imagine it. It's like you're like
well,
imprinting.
that's
Like
That's
yeah.
the thing. I think a lot of them don't even imagine it. They sort of, like, acknowledge, like, she's so sort of bland, and it, like, fuels it's this weird thing. It's like, we're all on the same page here.
We have a
Like,
caller.
we oh, wonderful. Well, this is our classic first caller of the night.
Welcome
I have your
in.
phone numbers memorized, folks.
Good evening, guys. Yep, I like to try to kick it off with the first or second caller. I kind of find it like a tradition.
It is a tradition. You've become a part of the show. You're like our
Yeah.
mascot. You come in and kick it off.
Well, I kind of fell in love on the first date.
You were literally. It was what, our second show ever? Maybe.
Yep.
Yeah, it was early.
So, can you define to me what you mean by liminal space? I don't understand what you mean by that.
So it's like a trend online to take pictures of places that feel sort of like neither here nor there. So like an empty McDonald's playground, or a abandoned mall, or a hallway in an office complex. Um, but
I
because you can't.
I
I mean, go
I'll
ahead.
just
I'll
say
pull
this
the
because I
picture.
think the what it is to me is like a visual representation of deja vu. It's like a unsettling, like I know this place, but it doesn't feel right.
Interesting. I'm trying to comprehend this, but I don't know. This is a new one on me as someone who doesn't have much sight, let's say. This is kind of a new concept to process and grasp.
Nathan, you can see a little bit, right?
I only have 3% out of sight out of one eye.
Okay. Well, Kat, can you pull up an image and we'll see if we can get you a 3% example of what this might look like.
I would appreciate that because it trips me out, like trying to think about this. Like, so is it only a photographic representation?
Nah, Kat, do a mall one. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, you on the comments. That one feels more like a computer one. There's ones the ones Yeah, like that one feels better, but it's still not right. It's a little too engineered. There's that one's good. That was perfect. Yeah. Okay. Nathan, you should see it on the stream shortly. It's a little bit of a delay. It's a blue bench in a hospital or something.
Okay, I got it. I had to pull up my stream. It's going to be echoey for a second.
So, do you kind of get the vibe? And
Boom. I picked. Yep. Now I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah, it's like I've been here, but it's like vaguely unsettling, and I'm not sure if I've been here. I recognize it in like my soul.
Interesting. Okay, I have no experiences with this because this is a brand new concept for me, so I have no input on that. But I do want to do a little bit of maybe bragging. Did anybody else notice, besides me and a handful of people that pay attention to like world economic news outside of the United States, that yesterday the American dollar, which is the world benchmark currency, dropped 2% of value?
Oh, expect that to continue.
I'm pretty sure I made a prediction on the prediction show about a total economic collapse inside the United States. I might be inclined to think it might be occurring right at the moment.
I think it's going to be over a couple of years, but the trade, we've done several things with the dollar over the last decade. I've brought this up on the show before. I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but we've been asking for this since like the 90s. So
we've been asking this since we took our gold away and we went to a fiat currency.
Yeah,
let's just be real.
No, we'll be okay. Don't worry about it.
Gold is $5,000. Well, a couple of days ago when I looked, it was $5,211 an ounce, which is amazing. But what's even more amazing is silver went from $22 an ounce at the beginning of 2025 to now it's over $130 an ounce.
I think it's structurally underpriced, even at the current pricing. If you look at the historical cost of silver, like over the past 100 years, it's typically pretty closely related to gold. I forget the exact ratio, and it's way undervalued. I think it's structurally undervalued by institutional investors, so people don't run from the dollar, if I'm being honest. But anyway,
the Hunt brothers?
By institutional investors.
That's an old joke most people might not get.
Oh, over my head.
The Hunt brothers tried to corner the silver market. The Hunts that own the Kansas City Chief, Lamar Hunt. The Hunt brothers, sometime in the 80s, mid 80s, early 80s, tried to corner the silver market, and Reagan told them to go fuck themselves.
Yeah, it's a weirdly priced market, and it's very underpriced, virtually underpriced.
But that was my little thing for the week. I was like, oh wow, because I was listening to. I had to install a VPN and do a couple other little things so I could listen to Radio Havana, Cuba, and get some actual correct information.
Interesting.
And yeah, I don't have a shortwave radio at the moment, and I have to do some very interesting technology maneuvers so I can get past all the bullshit firewalls that the United States has put up for foreign media broadcasts. It's trying to stay in the butt. Trying to listen to communist countries' news like RTV is almost impossible without a VPN to watch RTV.
Yeah, you can't really get RTV.
I like watching other people's stuff, so I know what's going on.
Yeah. So Nathan, just to kind of bring it back into theme here, since you're unfamiliar with it, another aspect of liminal spaces is maybe a reoccurring dream or a dream space that feels particularly unsettling for whatever reason. Do you have any, not necessarily maybe the dream itself, but kind of a setting or a feeling within a dream?
So I'm one of those weird people. There's a handful of us out there that we can't visualize. I can't visualize shit. If I close my eyes, even though I have a little bit of visual memory, I cannot visualize things. The only time I dream is when it is lucid.
Do you go into non-traditional realms as a lucid dreamer?
Oh, very much so. Very, very much so. I very much enjoy the lucid dreams. I very much can control my lucid dreams now that I'm an old fuck. Like, I've had enough practice and playing around with it and scaring myself that I kind of have an idea of how to maneuver the spaces, let's say. But yeah, I'm one of those weird people I can't visualize. One of my homegirls I hang out with, Lindsay, she can't visualize things either. Like, I guess I was listening to a podcast about the brain, and they're like, a handful of people in the population cannot visualize things. And it has nothing to do with sight. It has to do with the way that your brain processes information.
Yeah.
Like,
So
tripped me out.
So I've seen those memes and stuff, and I've heard that that's true. So if I were to like visualize an apple, presumably you had seen an apple before your eyesight went. Could you imagine in your head what that looks like?
No, it's just black. When I shut my eyes and I try to bring up an image, it can't be conjured into my mind's eye.
But you would obviously recognize it if suddenly you got sight and I showed you a plate of fruit and I said pick out the apple. You think you could recognize it?
Oh yeah, I would. I have enough old school visual memory. Now, someone who's lost their sight, you still have your visual memory. If you have never had eyeballs, you cannot build visual memory. You don't know what things look like because you have to have seen them to know what they look like in some shape or form with some sort of sight. Because even if with my 3%, the apple is still the apple, whether it looks like a red blob to me or a knobby thing to you. It's still the apple.
Sure. Let me ask you a question, because I've always wondered this.
Yes,
If somebody is blind and they take psychedelics, presumably you're seeing in some version of your mind's eye, right?
So more for me, that like, I just picked up a pound of mushrooms. Where I live, it's legal. I got kicked down a big ass bag of boomers, and I've been doing some microdosing and I've been doing some macrodosing. One night I ate 24 grams of mushrooms just to see what the hell would happen.
Goodness.
And and they're penis envies, guys. Anybody that knows mushrooms will know what a penis envy is. They are phenomenal.
Is that a mushroom
I don't
type?
recommend a psychonaut dose for most people because it might drive you shithouse insane. But I've also done, over 100 hits of LSD in my day. So, I'm well versed with hallucinogens and knowing that I'm tripping and not to try to fly. But when I actually start to hallucinate, it feels more like a waking dream. Like, it feels more like it doesn't feel like I'm conjuring the images up in my head. It feels more like when I'm lucid dreaming and I say, I want to climb the Sears Tower. And then a big ass building appears in front of me and I climb it. Now, I don't know what the Sears Tower looks like, but in my brain, I said the Sears Tower and then it put up a tower. That's kind of like, especially when I eat mushrooms, I tend to go a little more organic these days. I don't necessarily like LSD. I like my DMT and I like my mushrooms. And I like peyote. Peyote can be very transformative if you allow it. And if you have the mental stability to accept the information that is coming to you. Because once you take in hallucinogens, that door is open. You cannot unsee what you've seen, whether you have eyeballs or not, because it's not necessarily a visual thing. It is all in my mind.
It's
interesting. Not like I'm actually seeing bats or elephants fly across the room. It's more like I'm seeing the earth breathe, and like I feel like I can see the grass grow. Now, is that happening? That is to be debated. I believe that my perceptions are enhanced at that point where I can sense these things a little bit more naturally, especially when it comes to natural substances.
Well, it's interesting. I read some stuff this week, and there was a couple of videos that went viral. Some DMT researchers. There was a guy who went on Rogan who does DMT and he studies aliens and stuff. It's pretty recently. He's a bald head. I forget the guy's name. He really interesting work.
Bald head. It's like a slur.
No, but if you want to go to the Rogan page, he's probably last like 50 episodes. He's bald. They are finding that people that abuse DMT eventually get locked out of it.
Because the goddess won't let you abuse it.
Yeah, and it's not connected to dosage. This guy,
no.
somebody has been locked out of it. They'll bring them into a clinical setting. They'll dose him with just like ungodly amounts of DMT, and he won't trip. They can't figure out why, because chemically they've looked at like the receptors. The receptors aren't being clogged. It's literally like the substance itself is blocking you from accessing the realm. Isn't that the
Because
strangest
that
thing?
DMT itself, if you take the Mimosa hostilla plant and you break that down in a Carlo Rossi jug with a little bit of naphtha and some lighter fluid, a little bit of lemon juice, you get a very clear liquid at the top, milky clear liquid at the top. That's liquid DMT. You suck that off with a pipette, you stick it in the freezer, and that's DMT crystal. The only way I've ever consumed DMT is making it myself. If you buy it or have it sold to you, I believe spiritually that's bad juju. I tend to wonder in these controlled experiments, like how they derive the DMT. That's the physical process, but there's a lot of prayer and meditation that goes into the preparation of these substances if you want the proper result. If you just go cook a batch of DMT and smoke some crystal, who knows what you'll get? And, who knows if you'll like it or if it will be transformative or informational. The whole point of these aren't to get high, they're to learn. So, I do believe that the mother goddess of these plants will tell you no. You're abusing it.
It's interesting.
That's why
It's interesting
abuse.
because it points to it being something beyond just a physical substance.
Damn right it is. It's the essence and spirit of God, or whatever you want to put. I call it God. Some people might call it Allah. Some people might call it Buddha. Some people might call it Satan. Some people might call it late for dinner. It's all the fucking same. All the same.
I'm smiling at the comments of people commenting on you giving instructions on how to make DMT live on the internet. Turning into
Well, at least it wasn't methamphetamine, because I can also tell you how to cook poly-2-propylene, also known as Smurf dope that the bikers cooked back in the day. And where I got my recipe might have came from Jim Jones. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows?
I'm assuming you have to tell us if you have Jim Jones's recipe.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Absolutely, I do not. I love you, but some secrets I got, I will keep to my grave, baby.
We're going to hold on to that thought, Nathan, because I think we might need to do a Jim Jones episode. But we have another caller on the line, and I know you like to yield the line to new callers.
Of course I will. You guys have a lovely night. And hey, next caller, bring the heat, baby.
Thanks for calling.
Sorry.
I'll wait for you. Good. Good. You want me to answer it? You got it? I got it.
Of course I will.
Caller, you're on the line. Be sure to mute your
Hello.
stream.
Yes, I have to mute. Well, I'm sorry to kick Nathan off. He's a fascinating person.
He is fascinating.
And but I've been taking some notes. Liminality and the theory of sort of liminal, of the liminal, I guess, as you could say, is something I have some experience in. By the way, this is your boy Disgruntled Chode calling in again. So it's been a couple weeks. Really enjoyed the last couple shows, even though I didn't get a chance to call in. So anyways, the kind of anthropological examination of liminality is something that was very popular in the early 20th century, because it was understood to be a kind of you said Tyler Taylor. I'm sorry. How do you say your name?
Taylor.
Taylor. Thank you. I was getting caught up on that. If you were saying it's a space that feels neither here nor there, but I think maybe a finer point on it might be to say that it is a space between here and there, and that operates as a kind of portal space, a means of transit, a kind of almost a substrate, if you will. And one, if people are really interested in this on a kind of in terms of in sort of quote unquote primitive anthropology, a guy to look into is Mircea Eliade, who is an early 20th century Romanian anthropologist slash kind of philosopher who really helped to in his examination, especially of kind of rites of passage in a lot of societies that were, a lot of pre-modern societies that were being studied. He really kind of teased this out as, liminal spaces being accessing spirituality, but through a material transition, specifically. And this of course, this all, rites of passage often match up with difference in stages of life, especially puberty, or the transition, or for older women, menopause. Various transitional states physically that kind of ground you in that difference. And I think that's kind of that. So I guess this call is a sort of long-winded point of order, in the sense that I really think liminality should be understood as a kind of transitional space and a space of movement, not just of kind of uncanniness or of kind of placelessness, because I think it's there's a motive force to it, and that's kind of what drives the fascination with that we feel, and the pull and the draw that we feel towards these spaces.
Do you
guys were talking about the internet? Yeah, sorry.
I was just gonna ask. So you think about it as like almost the in between for like the soul, almost like the soul recognizing something beyond itself.
Yes, I think that seems to be the at least the anthropological consensus of the importance of this in a pre-modern context, is essentially that it grounds and reorients the material experience of humanity, which itself is a journey from birth to death, in a kind of as an almost sort of a save point, in gaming terms, if you will, but in a way that sort of is designed to take you out of yourself and come back. And I think that's the contemporary conception of liminal spaces as they're understood on the internet is very interesting to me for this reason, because I think it's kind of a slight misunderstanding, but a fruitful misunderstanding of the classic definition, in the sense of kind of the feeling of the uncanny, or the abandoned, or the odd. Hold on, I'm going to move to another room, so you might hear some echo as I have to turn off yet another version of this. But I think they always seem to be grounded in sort of a post-industrial sense of decay. Like, you mentioned these, abandoned fast food restaurants, or factory buildings. There seems to be a sense of human abandonment to what was once there, which is itself is a sense of movement, but it's kind of a movement backwards. It's our current sense of liminality tends to be kind of a almost rather than growing to a new stage or accessing a new connection, it almost seems to be an experience of the loss thereof. And
it seems to be like nostalgia for like the artifice of like the 90s, honestly, like filtered through a child's imagination.
Sorry, what were you saying? Do you have more to say?
No, like I think, in internet parlance, people say liminal space. I mean, that you bring up a good point, because it does mean something much broader, right? It's not just this meme. But in the meme sense, it's like nostalgia for your childhood, and all of these spaces of your childhood are emptied out, like the mall, your dad's office, the McDonald's playground that no longer exists.
Yes,
We have
yes,
a
and
Chick-fil-A playground. Kids love it. We still have it. I'm hoping it stays forever. Continue. Sorry. I just like
oh
that we
no,
still
no,
have one of those.
yeah, that's perfect. No, I think that's exactly right, and I think it's a reflection that we as a society have not completed our liminal journey. So many of us individually, but also collectively, have not do not kind of complete these stages of life because modernity basically contorts our life cycle out of sync with that with kind of whatever rhythms might have been established before, to accommodate and bring to fruition that need. And I think that is part of why this kind of the uncanny has such a draw for us in that sense. The uncanny and abandoned. I mean, I live in New England, and it's full of abandoned spaces, and I feel that myself. But also, Nathan was talking about hallucinogenics, and I feel badly. I interrupted his DMT sermon, and I'm going to have to take some notes if you get Nathan. You call back in and expound further if you need. But
If you need some advice on
I need some
illicit
notes, man.
activities, I'm sure he would be happy to oblige.
I need some new space. I mean, my experience with psychedelics and hallucinogens is basically LSD. I'm probably the last person in Western Massachusetts who hasn't had mushrooms. So that's on my list. So penis envy, I'll get right on that. Thank you. But I have to say, when I started taking LSD, it was during COVID, especially early COVID, when I was still working, and I'm a big cyclist. It's kind of my big during the warmer months when it's not Snowmageddon. That's kind of my big recreational activity outside. And early COVID was fantastic for road biking, of course, because there was nobody fucking around, which is amazing. And so what I started doing is just taking, I did the classic Albert Hoffman, the guy who invented LSD. He got on his bike afterwards.
Yeah. Had the
Had
road
most
bend
amazing
around
bike
him.
ride. And I started just doing that on routes that I knew well and knew that I could handle, in sort of low to moderate doses. And I feel like that's it really, the physical act of doing this and the geographical change of locus on my part that it afforded me, the change of scenery, the change of everything, and kind of created this mini liminal transition in me. And it was something I was drawn back to many times afterwards. It kind of animated that. And in fact, when I tried to do LSD and in a different context, in a static context, like, at home, even with other people, it wasn't the same. And I think part of it was the need to kind of access this sense of transition. And it coincided in my personal life, in my personal psychological life with a lot of things I was going through in some way. I'm still going through, and that I had to and I felt it was very productive in that sense. Which is how why I'm a big believer, along with, I'm sure, many of your other listeners, in the power of hallucinogens. But I feel that it needs to be used methodically to, and I think one way it can be done in this sense is to spark and fuel a kind of liminal journey that might not otherwise be available to us. Yeah?
Yeah, definitely. What do you think, Kat? You've
Yeah.
been quiet.
I've been
Uh,
coughing.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, no. So, anyways, yeah, I could go much further. I mean, there's some really interesting stuff if people really want to dive deep on the anthropological stuff of it. Like I said, Mircea Eliade. There's a lot of he wrote a lot about the kind of
What year was he writing?
oh my god, I want to say like 1920s.
That's so crazy.
19. Yeah, I mean, this was a big this was the period I think in which basically European academia had started to infiltrate the colonial hinterlands of before the World War collapse of a lot of the old European empires in what is now the Third World, and so they were discovering all these pre-modern societies and cultures that that at that time were still relatively not undisturbed, but less disturbed, I guess, by the advance of European modernity.
You talking about like the Ottoman Empire?
Well, even further, like I think a lot of his research, as I'm recalling it, was about Indonesia.
Interesting.
Which at that time, I mean, it's still Indonesia. I'm fascinated by Southeast Asia and Indonesia in particular. I spent some very brief time there many, many years ago. But subsequently, I mean, it's kind of one of the last, untamed area. I mean, obviously the nation of Indonesia exists and is huge, but I mean, all these islands and places have very autonomous traditions that they've managed to carry forward in a way that very few other places on Earth have. And I think even more so at that time. If you've ever heard of the gamelan orchestras of Indonesia, and especially in Java, they're basically these big kind of marimba style metal keyboards that they play and create these kind of deafening, almost hypnotic ritual musical sequences essentially. And there's a whole mythology, a whole ritual mythology between Rangda and Barong, basically the warrior against the beast. I mean, it's timely. How often have we seen this in mythology? And it creates this space where somebody will basically assume the role of Rangda. I think I'm getting this. I hope I don't have them switch by accident. But basically, one takes the role of the warrior, and the other takes kind of this, dresses up in this very elaborate garb that disguises them as the beast, and they kind of do this ritualized fight. It's through which the beast gets slain, but first Rangda has to kind of enter this spirit world, and they do it by like ritually stabbing themselves with knives. Not literally, I think not literally, usually, although I'm not sure how true that is, but there's a sense where they're so taken out of themselves that they can they can either metaphorically or physically mortify their flesh. And this kind of literally creates an opening, I think, is the kind of sensibility of it is that it creates an opening through which they are now open to a spiritual experience that would not be available to them. And it kind of makes me think also of if the covering of our bodies is sort of something that, that protects us from the depredations of the outside world, but also shields us from an experience of that world that we long for at some level that is, less filtered. And I think maybe that is what maybe the ritual is pointing to. And maybe that is the role of something like hallucinogens, is basically to amplify the senses in such a way to kind of compensate for the limitations of sensory input that we receive in our daily sober, kind of compos mentis lives.
Well, let me ask you a question. As a psychedelic user, but also just as somebody who dreams, do you have any liminal spaces that you regularly enter into or that are particularly troubling to you or interesting to you?
Well, I kind of try to view life as a liminal space. I mean, I've really sort of tried to. This is why I don't like talking about psychedelics, except in spaces like this, where because it just sounds so pretentious and kind of 60s boomer coded. But it really is true. I mean, it's there's an expansion of consciousness in the sense of like trying to sort of capture a mode of change in everyday life, but more or less successfully. But I really think, I think the best way I've been able to access it is through like long cardio, basically, like long, outside of using some sort of substance. I find that ironically, and I've been doing this before I started experimenting with LSD, but I find that really long bike rides, like 2 hours or more, and I live in an area that's fairly has a decent amount of hills, and you can really get a good workout on a bicycle, and it produces. I've had some really crazy, and I'm in a settled area for the most part. I mean, I'm on the sort of the edge of between rural and urban New England, I guess you could say. But even the rural parts are still pretty well settled as compared to places like out west, where you go miles and miles between any kind of residence. Not nearly that, but even so, you can just have these incredible experiences. I feel like.
Well,
I've had them out on the bike. I've had them out and taking hikes, like long hikes through the forest. The spiritual and kind of energetic weight of your surroundings starts to visit on you, and I think part of it has to do with the engagement of my body through this long exercise that kind of maybe takes my defenses down or
it removes I mean, there's a reason that the shaman or the mystic goes to the desert. But I'm gonna have to put a pause here because I have had somebody waiting for 18 minutes.
Oh God, I'm sorry.
We are always thrilled to have your calls.
To the rule of Nathan.
No,
yes, I will yield my time. But thank you for listening to me. And this is a very interesting subject, one of many that you've done. So let me hang up here. And thanks for doing this.
Thanks for calling.
Cheers.
And sorry, everyone, for my quiet. I have this cough out of nowhere. I thought there was blood for a second. I got my inhaler. It didn't work somehow. So,
do you want to get this next caller? Are you good? You want me to get it?
I could get the next caller, but we might call it a little early tonight because I'm dying of tuberculosis. Hello.
Hey, this is Hunkle. I have a very bizarre story. This is something that has never happened to me before, and
Amazing.
For context for your viewers, I work in an Amazon warehouse. The Amazon warehouse in itself is a very bizarre liminal space. There's stretches of repeating columns and pallets full of miscellaneous, unrecognizable Chinese garbage. But I work the night shift, and I am a chronically sleep deprived person. And about a few months ago, I was working a shift, and I hadn't slept for 36 hours or something. And I ended up falling asleep at my work, standing up on propped up by a pallet jack. And I entered this bizarre, hypnagogic realm where I was hallucinating, like I like looked around and like everything was like blue shifted, and there was like a dense, heavy fog around me, and I ended up blacking out for like 3 hours.
Oh, weird.
And I think I might have sleepwalked like a large portion of my shift. But I was working because no one yelled at me for sleeping.
That's so weird.
Like I looked this up, and apparently it's common for like shift workers to sleepwalk.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah.
But yeah, the whole, like, if you've ever been in an Amazon warehouse, it feels like a liminal space. Like you walk up the stairs of like and go up to these floors where there are like arrays of these yellow towers that are like neon yellow, and they're these little robots that shift them and move them around.
It's a freak. Those are freaky. Those little robots. The whole Amazon warehouse is freaky.
Have you ever been in one?
Briefly once. We have an Amazon shipping place like right outside of town. You there?
Yeah, it looks like those. You like that picture that you showed earlier of like the repeating computers in that office.
Yeah.
It like has like that vibe. Like it's like a very like the floors are like concrete gray. There's like a blue. It's like a blue and yellow color palette. It has like blockbuster colors. It does feel like sort of like an early 2000s color palette in a weird way.
I was trying to find this video. Shoot, I can't find it. So what do you think actually happened? Do you think you fell asleep? Like, what do you think actually went?
I think I entered like a sort of hypnagogic state because I've listened to a lot of your recordings, and I know that you also have this sort of like sleep troubles. And when for a lot of people, when they go between that place between consciousness and unconsciousness, they experience what are called hypnagogic hallucinations. I'm
Mhm.
not familiar, where it's like they'll like you'll like fall asleep, and then like you're about to fall asleep, but then you hear like 1,000 whispers in your ear, and
Yeah.
then you jolt back up.
Yeah.
Like I'm probably not doing the best at explaining this.
No, it makes total sense to me. It makes total sense to me experientially. I think it makes a whole lot of sense. Are you still on shift work?
Yeah, I'm still at the warehouse. I mean, I'm not there right now, but this is like my Friday or Saturday.
Oh, nice. Happy weekend to you. That's nice.
Thank you.
Thursday has a good feeling anyway. Thursday is just a good day. Well, thank you for calling.
Thank you. I'll let someone else speak.
Thanks for calling. Sorry for my silence.
Cat's just observing. It's weird. When I was growing up, there's only a few dreams that I had on repetition. One of them was really bizarre, and I've probably had it, I don't know, 100 times. I used to dream of this like white room with a white like gray table, and then there was just an egg sitting on the table. That was it. That's the whole dream.
That is weird.
Isn't that a weird dream? It's like, what was my brain trying to like do there? Maybe I was
Seems
just being
like
like
demonic.
Yeah. Yeah. It has some sort of like deep hanging meaning that I'm not aware of. That's like probably horrible.
You're on the
Hey now. Hey, this is another Nathan.
Hello.
Hey, I'm living in a basement, yo.
What's up?
I'm living in a basement.
That's kind of a liminal space.
It is. It is. So, like, I think one of the takeaways, like, how it is specifically is, oh, let's see. I dream in my favorite way, which is like maybe once a week I dream what's present around me, which is my favorite, right? So that tells you, I mean, I can't get there by wishing. Like that's something that happens for a boy when he's got his favorite lady next to him. That's a time when you dream. Uh, that's a time when you dream of what's actually going on. But so I don't know what the takeaway is, except that if other people are aware you're in the liminal space, they can I don't know, the little kids upstairs, 2 years old, 6 years old, and 8 or 9, they think I'm a monster. So
Well, hold on. Let's put a pause on this.
What
I want to get a better understanding of what's actually happening here. Um, so first, you're having a recurring dream that you like to go to, uh, and you think that the children upstairs can sense you in that space, and that's why they think you're a monster?
uh it's just their way to think I'm a monster. Their mama uh their mama just doesn't like that somebody's occupying the basement apartment in the building. So so they just are mama's children, and they just think of me that way.
What is this special dream place that you like to go to but can't control that when you go there unless there's a woman
Oh
next to
yeah,
you?
yeah. It's when we've been talking about, people have been talking about it tonight. It's when you dream of what's actually around you. I
Like
think
you're at
lucid
the
dream.
room?
A lucid dream.
Okay, a lucid dream.
yeah, just participating with yeah, you can't touch it. Your motors are all turned off. So you're dreaming for sure.
Okay, wait. So are you talking about like you see something in your room, so you're having like a sleep paralysis kind of event? Like you're in your room, but there's like stuff in the room happening, but you can't move, or is it like you can?
Right, but I don't. Sure it is. Yeah, yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
God, I
Okay.
this is an every monthly thing. I'll talk to somebody who worries about sleep paralysis, right? But like, I like to hallucinate, so like, that kind of thing is not a problem.
What do you see in your sleep paralysis? There's a typical
Well,
common. There's some common stuff that comes up.
right. I think that I'm in for as long as I'm in this apartment. I think I'm in for this for the long haul. Um, so last night it was uh, uh, just a little bit of story got involved in it, and it was like things. Uh, it was just about like closet organizing, and then it turned, and then so I had done some closet organizing, living in my closet, and then I repeated it in the dream, and it went bad. But it went bad like I don't know. The only people who visited me in the dream flew in just to tell me that um if that I was gonna kill, you'll kill us all if you leave that. See, it's yeah, that was it. And then the rest of it, I was back to my own, keeping my own company. Yeah. They're like, if you continue to, you must not continue to move things. They were like, you'll kill us all if you continue to behave in this fashion. Whatever.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So, but I don't know if there's a takeaway from my living in this liminal space, except that, like, for I think for somebody else, I didn't grow up with a basement in my life. So like it's pretty fresh for me.
So you
But
think that
it's
the
it,
basement is what brought these dreams upon you? You think the space itself is pressing upon your subconscious?
oh, there's no way around it because the second to the last caller said something that speaks right to my situation. Like I'm jealous of people who live above ground because when you have sunlight pouring into your eyeballs, like you're always it's like positive. You've got this positive pressure going. So like if you see an opportunity to like whatever, reach for your dream. If you see like an opportunity opening up, uh you can count on yourself uh uh to send your dreams to like, populate the opportunity that presents itself. But like I am like several beats behind because I'm living underground. Like I can't count on myself to like whatever to like notice my soulmate or like that because like I'm not gonna live here forever because you can imagine like when you're like what I'm saying is like when when you live with sunshine pouring onto your skin. It was what the second to last caller said about how the skin both is like a protection and if you're high enough and it could be like a stepping stone to better things or wider things or like that. It's like that.
The the way that you're explaining this, you in one breath you're recommending it, but it sounds like some sort of like float tank in hell.
Well, it's a basement, man. I've got tiles on the floor, so it's not raw concrete. It was built as an apartment in like the 1930s or the 1920s, but it's not a basement. It's definitely
You might have some
it's
ghosts. Maybe you're on a ley line. It sounds like you got some things going on. Maybe a mixture of all two. Maybe some mold up in there. I think you've got a couple of hauntings upon you here.
I like basements.
mostly
I'm
mostly it's
jealous
the
of you.
kids. They're an Appalachian family, and they when they don't like somebody, they kind of um beat the drums. They kind of beat their chests, you know.
The people upstairs with the
Yeah, yeah,
kids.
yeah.
Do you know? Is this
Yeah,
like
little
family, or is this just like a random people you're renting from?
they are just the renters. They are the renters upstairs. I'm sure they're sweet to each other, but they didn't want a grown adult male moving into the basement apartment. They just did not like the idea of it.
Well, I mean, here's a good consideration for you. Maybe they knew it was haunted, and it being a man makes it exponentially worse. You could get possessed. You're having dreams of people saying, "Don't reorganize your closet, or you're going to kill us all." That's a pretty intense situation that they're on top of. Maybe they're sensing that energy coming from downstairs. They're like, you are the monster in the basement." They're like, that guy has. We can feel his energy down there.
I don't. It's. I'm in a good situation. Like it's cheap. You understand? Like that's why people live in basement apartments is because there's a discount that goes with the territory. You dig?
No, I got you. I lived in a place in college. There was a shooting 2 doors down, but I paid $300 a month. It was
That's what
haunted.
I'm talking
Yeah, I
about.
moved in, there was a huge mirror that we wouldn't move.
But it's good for I'm a substacker and it's good for I participate in my fictions. Uh like I'm able to send my imagination chasing after my fictions. Um, like I'll yeah.
You're like
But like
a haunted Hunter S. Thompson.
uh God bless his God bless his God bless his bones.
You might see him.
No, you know what? So I'm available. I'm available to a haunting, but it seems like nobody has gotten stuck between the worlds in this place.
You wouldn't describe the things that you've experienced as a haunting?
No, no. Those are the best kind of dreams. Like I say, the other situation in which you can reliably um count on dreaming the people who are in the room with you is when you're with a woman who you wouldn't like to let go, a woman who you'd like to sleep with every night. That's uh that's one of the situations where you lucid dream, because why would you want to exit that scene? So like I did that. My favorite female was with me camping in the woods, and I learned that night, in and out of sleep, but when I slept I was only dreaming about her and me just lying there in the forest. But I learned that night, you know how Egyptians have those uh head pillows that are like not pillows, that are just like bricks under
Mhm.
their neck, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's because that's like a human ability. So I wanted to look out to make sure no raccoons disturbed my girl's sleep, right?
Mhm.
So I slept with my head fully erect all night. And it's just one of our abilities, is like human beings can do that. You can just hold your head up all night long like that.
Did you hold it up with the aid of something, or you just held it up?
No, yeah, no. We have enough neck strength to do that, like with no problem. Yeah,
I don't think that's true.
I've done
He's done it. He did it.
it.
He did it on his raccoon lookout.
Because when
Yeah,
people, the why when people are sleeping, they go like, they start, they they do this.
Well, here's the flip side of this. Maybe he's lucid dreaming, so maybe that's how he is in his dream. It's a dream, but he's also head erect.
I mean, people can
Uh,
really do it on airplanes, you know? You always see the
The 80-year-old man, mouth open, sleep on the airplane.
Thank you for your call. We have someone who's been waiting quite a bit.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Please call back. That was my favorite call of all time.
Hello?
Hello.
You're on the line.
Hey. So thinking about liminal spaces, I think one theme that I've seen come up a lot are like department stores for whatever reason. Something about them just really like triggers something in the American psyche. Whether it's like empty department stores or like department stores that are going out of business. It just seems like a really like recurrent theme that I've seen online when people are posting about liminal spaces.
Why do you think
I
that
think
is?
you're right.
Yeah, definitely.
I think some of it's got to be nostalgia, right? Like people kind of yearn for the past, and I don't know. Retail is one of those things that has kind of just collapsed, right? I mean, Black Friday used to be a huge part of American culture. People would camp out, starting on Thanksgiving night. And I don't know, there's just something that's kind of been lost and it's vanished. Um, there's a really big department store down here in Chicago. It's the old Marshall Fields down on State Street. And that's just even like more lost in time. Now we've got like these Targets and Walmarts, but like department stores, and like when they were first starting out, like they took up entire city blocks at the center of cities, like 10 stories tall. And they're just like it's just so interesting to me how these things have evolved, and how like you have these buildings that are just sitting there completely divorced from like what they were originally built to be.
You
I don't
know,
know if any of you have ever been in one of those, but they're very weird to just walk around.
we're
You
sh-
can tell that they used to be these like palaces of retail, and now they're just like kind of sad.
we're looking at a photo of it now on the stream. I think what's creepy about them is their places distinctly made for humans that humans no longer occupy. It doesn't exist without us. It's a part of us in some strange way, and we've abandoned it. It's not natural, and it's been left to die.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. Because yeah, like I don't know. I'm thinking like you go to the one to like the now it's the Macy's on State Street. I'm less familiar with the one at Herald Square in New York, but like you can just tell that like I don't know. It's just a model of life that just feels really incompatible with like Amazon. You like look up a 10-story atrium and there's a Tiffany dome, and it's just hard to imagine that in a Target, let alone, anything related to like Amazon or eBay, right?
Yeah, it's almost like a monument to uh, capitalism at in my opinion, its best, and it's also most probably human form. And now we've kind of like gone away from that into the Dollar General, version of easiness, but low value.
Yeah, for sure. I'm kind of, I don't know. Do you guys think that retail is going to make a comeback? It seems like, and maybe I'm just reading too much into like when people post like these liminal spaces of these old stores, but it seems like people really do just have a yearning to do these things like shopping in real life, but also nobody actually does it. The convenience is almost like too strong. I don't know.
You know what's interesting? Um, I feel like COVID really killed a lot of these things more than we give it credit for.
For sure.
Because like there were still like very active malls. In Chicagoland we have some active malls still. But it's obviously now they're increasingly rare. Um, but I think as we recover from COVID, I don't know that it'll ever be the same, but I can't imagine it not coming back. I don't think things are as atomized necessarily as people think. I think we're in this really strange recovery period. And I also think there's been this really big, almost like propaganda push. Weirdly, like, as much from the right as anyone else to like blame everything but COVID lockdowns um, on this like emptying out of third places. I was going to like markets and events and stuff. Up until February 2020, and I'm not necessarily someone with like a bunch of friends or like a rich social life, lockdown or not. So I think anyway, very long-winded way of saying as we recover, I think a lot of these things will come back.
I don't think so. I'll say this. I'm coming from a fundamentally different place than you. You're in a much bigger city than me. Uh, I think in big cities, Chicago and New York and places like that, it'll come back in some sense, but it's almost like a cargo cult of what was, right? It's like the niche bookstore that can only exist because it's in a city of 1 million people. But I don't think Dillard's isn't coming back. Like it's just, it's still open, but it's like it's not. It'll never be what it
It's
was.
kind of like a shell of itself, right?
Yeah, like that's what we did in high school. Not really high school, middle school. Your mom would drop you off at the mall. Now it'd just be miserable. There's nobody there. But it was like fun. It was like happening. You go eat pizza and walk around and go to Journeys and Candy Craze or something. But like it doesn't have an energy to it in the same way. Retail will always exist because there's until Amazon can drop something off at your door in 10 seconds in every single small town. But I think we're underestimating like an entire generation that kind of lost that. And I think even if it was forcibly brought back, people would still order on Amazon. I think
I
we've
don't
been
think it
beat.
would be. I don't think it would be like a matter of forcibly brought back. Like, I think maybe we're also neglecting the ways that it's still alive, right? Like, people still indulge in like different food trends, and these aren't like necessarily restaurants. Like crumble cookies, for example, is like a post-COVID phenomenon.
Hmm.
We may scoff at that, but like I think things like that, we'll never have the department store again, but we will have stores. And the other thing is like Amazon is degrading in a lot of ways, and it's noticeable to everyone, not just to people with like refined taste, but like quote unquote refined
That's
taste, but
true.
to everyone, because it's like you want to buy a pair of slippers or something that you need the next morning, and it's like the brand is like ACBZ, 6 Z's, and it's some Chinese bullshit. And it's like I've heard a lot of people sort of complain about this, like it's just easier to go to Target, pay an extra $10, um and not it not be
You
as
get
convenient, because it's
something that's
like,
a little higher quality.
yeah, because it's like it's uncanny too. Talk about liminal spaces, like these like Chinese made like non-products, and this inability to buy these things from Amazon. It's Amazon's a big offender too, because it's not simply buying things online. It's buying things from Amazon, because the online shopping
Right.
experience is
Well,
different.
and to your point, like the disappointment between what you think you're buying is kind of like, and what actually like arrives at your doorstep is kind of its own form of content now, right? Especially
Yeah.
with the rise of like Temu, you get so many, like there's a whole genre of videos of people just reacting to things that they bought on Temu, and how it's not at all what they thought they were going to get.
And I think like you even see this with like grocery shopping. Like people, you know, Instacart was so convenient for like so many years, or Uber Eats or DoorDash. But at a certain point, you're just like, I don't want to pay, especially in this economy, 20% more to get, 6 bunches of bruised bananas when I wanted 3 ripe bananas and like frozen
Right.
waffles. So I'm a little bit more optimistic on the return of retail, but I'd agree. We're never getting Sears back. We're never getting Dillard's, or even Macy's is sort of going
Do
out
you
of style.
do you think that we'll get it back in the social sense? Like, I mean, obviously stores will always exist. I don't think you couldn't get rid of every store, but I think that's what people yearn for is the Target and Whole Foods are kind of strangely protected. Those are still pretty like happening. Um, but but I remember stores fondly, like Blockbuster. It's like
Yeah.
so many of my best
Yeah.
memories are at Blockbuster, and it's like I was friends with the dude who worked there, and he would recommend. It was just a dude that I met there, and I don't think that type of thing happens anymore.
I don't think that's true, and I don't think it's because like I live in a city. I mean, Chicago's an interesting place, and I don't know if the caller lives in Chicago or just lives in Illinois, but Chicago has like this flavor. Like it's not New York, right? It has this like flavor of like we're a little bit behind, we're a little bit slower paced, um, and so like if it's I don't think the niche things that would survive in a New York necessarily survive as well in Chicago. We have an advantage over the suburbs, but like I think marginally. Um, and I think like
Yeah.
there is still space. What
I
the
mean,
one thing I can
yeah,
see
like I
is
think
an
we've got all
obstacle.
these like independent stores. I think that's like huge. Like the memory you're talking about of like bonding over like music and a Best Buy. I mean, I think that still happens here all the time, just in like record stores. But I don't. But again, like I think the cities just got a little bit more than like your typical like suburb or even just like mid-sized metros have.
I mean, I think a lot of suburbs and mid-sized cities are able to sustain types of stores that cities can't, because it's too expensive. I mean, I think that's the other thing is, and I go on about this every week on every platform I have, but it's like, it's not that people don't, they prefer to ignore their neighbor and they prefer to be atomized. It's also like the rents are like really unsustainable, and like they can't afford to buy or move enough product to keep open um, a place that just sells videos or something, right? What a place like Austin, I don't know, like 15 years ago, or some smaller cities have that, like a place like Chicago, even Chicago, which is relatively affordable like compared to New York, is like they can keep open a store that where you just go play Magic the Gathering, and they sell comic books and they sell cards and they sell figurines, um, and things that you would imagine like, oh, those stores are dying out. There might only be one, right? But they can still keep those places open. They can keep open a place that just sells violins or something.
We have
You
a
can't
violin
really afford,
right by my work. We're also
right?
like a Cajun music center, so but it is pretty
But
cool.
I've noticed, like, and this is just like anecdotally, like a lot of those types, there's some, but there's a lot of those places like can't afford to stay open in cities. Like you see on like blogs about like LA, for example, like LA is losing all of these sort of like historical kitschy like niche little, whether it's a restaurant or a shop or something, because it's too expensive. And
Right.
it kind of like pisses
Yeah.
me off when you have all these like pundits who are like, yeah, it's because like kids these days rather, scry into their iPhones or whatever. It's like, it's fucking expensive. A violin is expensive.
I wonder if there will
Do
ever
you
be
think
this is what I've always wanted is like when everybody started in remote work, I'm like, at what point do all of these people just like move into some abandoned West Virginia town and just take it over with like cool little shops and like have a totally remote, you're getting San Francisco coding prices, but you're in like a 50,000 person town with like the Hallmark shops, just the kind of neat little
Well,
bookstores
that
and the coffee
happened.
shops.
That happened during COVID, and the problem is, like, the people who would do that, who have the funds to do that, ruin those towns. I mean, I'll never
you
stop
might just
being, like,
freaking
pissed
everyone
off.
else out?
Yeah, they displace other people. They have no respect for the local culture. They're not interested. It's not like they move in, right? And they're like, "Let me preserve what made this place special. Let me pour in my own resources so we can collaborate." In a perfect world, that's what happens. They come in and they say, "Fuck these hicks," and buy their houses from under them, and then ruin it. And then they get bored. They have the audacity to get bored and leave.
Yeah.
I wonder, I'm curious what you guys have thought about this. Do you think that like the nostalgia that feeds all of these like images of like, emptied out department stores, like the classical like liminal image, like half empty Sears, do you think some of that's just nostalgia for like a time when Americans were a little bit more broadly just like in that consumer economy? Things didn't feel so stratified, and it's kind of just like mourning the loss of that like broader like affluent middle class that nobody seems to
Oh,
truly
yeah.
have anymore.
No, absolutely. I mean, I don't think it's like an accident that so much of our nostalgia is like about purchasing things or going to the mall. And
Yeah.
like, like we're in a moment right now where like, getting the frozen yogurt, or like let's, rewind even further back, going to, spending the amount that you'd spend at Blockbuster or Walden Books or something. Like actually like that could be the difference between having lunch or not. Um or it could, put a little dent in your ability to pay your rent. So yeah, I definitely think it's like this carefreeness of like, you know, it's not a prosperity where you lose sight of what's valuable, but also it's just enough where you can just have an ice cream. And it's not, the world's not your oyster, but at the same time, it's not as closed off either.
Yeah,
I'm
no, I think there's
reminded of
something
that
to
like
that.
that Tim Dillon bit where he's like, you're only allowed to you're only allowed to depose other countries and do illegal stuff if people can afford TCBY. People have to buy in if you're gonna be wild as a government, which is true. Nobody, if you don't have a yard, it like makes it hard to like, I don't know. Yeah, I think a lot of that is I don't know, things are just hard, but who knows? Might get better.
I hope it gets
Oh,
better.
fingers crossed. But anyways, I probably got to get going. But yeah, I just wanted to throw my hat into the ring with the retail because I've noticed that as a theme. So thanks for the chat. Thanks for sharing your guys' thoughts on it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for calling.
You are on the air.
Whoops, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can hear you.
Yeah, I just wanted to elaborate on the retail subject from before. I live in Austin, and I think what's really interesting is that there's like a specific law, I guess, that city council passed some time ago, like a long time ago, that designated certain areas of the city to be like independent business districts so that franchises couldn't open. It was a very like 90s like anti big corporate thing, I think. But as a result, it started these like spaces that could only host local businesses. And it kind of had weird effects on the market. So like there are certain things that have just been here a long time, even though they make no financial sense. Like there's an
Like what?
anarchist bookstore that just is there forever. It's been there for like 20 years. It doesn't make any money. I have no idea. Anyway, but I just thought that was interesting to think about as like a model, because it's not necessarily even a super dense city or anything like that, but you know, small experiments like that might be more effective if you could get other municipalities to jump on board.
That's a good point. It must be like really like unevenly like applied, because it seems like like there's so many places in Austin that are now sort of like overwhelmed by like a Target or something, where like there were like kind of interesting businesses and the places made sense for like quirky businesses. And now it's just like
You should just make
big
them
chains.
tax free under whatever $5 million. I don't even know how much Target clears, but whatever a normal business clears, I think that would be helpful.
Well, I was
Yeah,
just
I think
just
that is
commenting on like
part of
Austin
how
specifically.
it works. Because you get like the only tax you get in Texas is property taxes.
Oh yeah.
So I think that is kind of how they make it work.
Y'all have no corporate taxes at all?
Not at a state level.
Man, but y'all got those wild property taxes. I have a buddy over there.
Yeah, it's only property taxes and then sales tax. So everything has to be leveraged through massive property taxes. And there's also a part of the state constitution is that the budget has to be balanced. So like sometimes it leads to some very weird like state politics stuff.
We have different taxes by parish in Louisiana. So if like a buddy of mine works at our office, but he lives in a different parish, and he orders Amazon because it's like 30% less tax to have it shipped to our office than it is to his house, which is nuts.
That is very wild indeed. Yeah. But Louisiana is very unique.
Louisiana is a time capsule. It's a weird place.
Yeah. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting to think about. I think there are like some experiments that work pretty well because like if you just drive through Austin, you can tell like, oh, this part is indistinguishable from the rest of Texas. It's all, you know, big box stores or whatever. And then you drive through another area and there's like, you know, no McDonald's, no Target, no Walmart, no nothing. And it's all like, you know, quirky little weird stuff you've never seen before.
I've noticed that chain restaurant food is so bad now. I hate
Is
it.
it?
Oh man. I don't know, maybe it's just in my mind, but every time I eat it now, I'm like, this sucks. I ate Jimmy John's the other day, which has historically been one of my places, and I was like, man, this is just not the same. It's not good. I don't know why. It just tastes different. It tastes bad. Maybe I'm just like grown tired of it, but I don't think it's the same.
I mean,
I think it has gotten worse.
yeah, like not only cutting costs, but like there's this everyone just sort of complains about people switching food providers to Cisco, but I
Oh,
don't
dude, everybody is Cisco.
I
It's
don't
like
I don't buy that Cisco's that bad. I don't know. Maybe they
oh,
are.
I bet you it is. But even if it's not that bad, it ends up with everything tasting the same.
It's just
All of the
ingredients.
major yeah, but like all of the major pizza chains all use the same cheese. How could you possibly like that's the entire thing. It's just bread and cheese. It
Yeah.
I don't know. It takes away the uniqueness, and then beyond that, it's like I don't know. It just I don't know. I don't. I wish they would start aggressively pursuing monopoly policy and just like break these companies up, but that'll never happen.
Yeah.
This last call. So sad.
Well, thank you for calling. I think we're maybe gonna close up shop because I have tuberculosis tonight.
Yeah, sounds good. Hope you feel better. Thanks for
Thank
talking,
you.
Al.
Bye. Yeah, I think we're gonna end a little bit earlier. We usually end it in like 9:30. I think we're gonna end a little bit earlier tonight because I can't stop coughing. My mouth tastes metallic, and I want to go investigate what's behind that.
Did
So
did you get a chance to watch the thing that I sent you? Could you hear it?
no, I did. I didn't get a chance to watch it. I could just play it as
I
our
don't know
send
if it's
off.
the right thing though, but it was a liminal spaces thing that I remember being like freaked out by. I think this is it. It was it was advertised as a game, but people were clipping it little bit by little bit. But it reminded me of liminal spaces. I think it's like a liminal spaces game, but I remember it being freaky at the time. We don't have to.
I'm in a liminal spaces Discord, and I should have shared this. This isn't the end of liminal spaces. I'll say that. We'll do
I
it
think it
again.
touches people. I think it's a weird thing that I think people can kind of like feel, and I think there's something about it that's getting more.
I was actually going to
We're in a
stream
period of transition for sure.
from a liminal space, but then this cough. I mean, so next time.
Your whatever effect is on your video, it's like lagging, and it looks like a liminal space in your video. You got like some ghost walking behind you.
It's not an effect. It's like I dropped my camera. I've touched the lens, so it's like blurry. And I
Yeah.
also think there's a ghost, a real one. So
Probably. Man, you must have really touched the camera because it's like
I did something. I don't know what maybe I pressed a button or something. I don't know. I definitely touched the lens. Okay. All right. I gotta go.
we're gonna call it.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Are you have a song?
The song will be a minute late.
We will see you guys next week.
Thank you.